have a battery.
That is bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see what happens. Okay.
No, this is not on the same on the live link. This is on a test link. I'm just testing tech with Brian. Yeah, I wanted to get on it. Okay. Looks like you're coming on board. Good. You look nice and tropical, Brian.
Does that look tropical?
Yeah.
Is that your wife?
Yeah.
I lost it. I'm worried about this internet connection out here. I'll have to connect off my phone. I think I lost the connection. Let me just, I'm going to hang up, but let me reconnect using my phone as the hotspot.
Okay. Hey, I tell you what. When you reconnect, I want you to go on the actual presenter link. I'm going to go ahead and turn off and restart and put it on live because people might start getting on here in a few minutes. And it's okay if we're dicking around ahead of time.
Okay.
What? Wow. It says here we got 125 people registered for this webinar. And I need an image. Hold on, everybody. Gotta protect your image. Who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Boom. There we go. Going to be on this. Let it load. Here's a Christopher. All right. And back to the. Chris, we're actually on live. If you want to log into that other account, we're pre-live. We're not really live yet. Okay.
You got 20 people on.
What? Wow. Okay, if you're already on the webcast, we're just getting ready. We're going to start right at noon Eastern. You should see on your screen. You should see the window claims Braintrust. And we're just going to be hanging out for a while. I'll tell you what, while we're getting ready to start, I want you to go ahead and get familiar with the chat box. Then on the right-hand side, you should have a chat. I want you to put in there your name and where you're calling in from. Where you're joining us from.
Hey, Sid, this is Brian. How's the audio?
Brian, your audio is perfect.
Do you have any wind noise or anything? It's a little windy where I'm at.
I can hear the wind, but it's not affecting the mic.
Okay, good.
It's strictly background.
Your voice is great. All right, perfect. Is the video okay?
Video's good.
All right. I'll just leave it on and I'll be back. I'll leave it on and be back in a few minutes, okay?
Are you still on the video there?
Yeah, I'm on the video. It's all good?
Okay, good.
You're great. All right, thanks, buddy.
Cool. Okay, Tyson from Utah. Glad you're here this morning. And that's got Nicholas. Where are you from, Nicholas? Wichita, Kansas. How's the weather down there? You guys aren't snowed in or anything, are you? And Jeff from New Jersey. Hey, Jeff. What's going on? Hang on a second. I'm going to put up a screen so you guys know you're in the right spot. This is the Window Cleaners Braintrust Hangout for 2017. And we're going to be starting at the top of the hour. We've got a few minutes to go. Everybody's piling in here. Okay. Can you, and I'm just going to leave that beautiful picture on right now. I'm going to work with my tech guy, Chris, on the side. What's that?
I need a regular viewer link so that I can listen as well.
Oh, cool. Okay. Cool. It's a good thing we started early because we got little techie things we're working out in the background. Greg from Las Vegas, good to see you here. Josh, all the way from Oklahoma City. You guys get ice storms down there like we don't, even up here in Montana, where it just shuts the place down. Jeff from Minnesota, Bill from Grand Rapids, glad you're here. And you said a regular viewer link? All right. We're working out just a couple of tech bugs, and we're going to start in about 3 minutes. Okay? So enjoy the beautiful music while you're on hold. Ha ha ha. We realize there's no music. Just hang on. Replay link, regular link, annotation. Chris, just a second. I'm going to send you that. Okay, we're 3 minutes away from start time. Appreciate everybody that's piling on the webinar this morning. I'm glad you're here. We're just working out a couple of little webinar type kinks and tech things, and then we're going to get started. All right, where are we? Let's see here. All right, turn on the camera. Woo! Okay, good morning, everybody. Let's see. I'm going to give me another rundown on who's joining us here. We're starting to fill up. We already got 37 people on. We got Jeff from New Jersey, Nicholas from Wichita. We already said hello. Tyson in Utah, Dennis in North Carolina, Valerie from Greenville, Tennessee, Nicholas from Nope. Thanks for joining us. Bill in Grand Rapids, Teresa from Woodstock, Illinois. Thanks for being here. Josh Smith, thanks for being here. Nicholas got good weather in Kansas City. That's good. Greg in Las Vegas. Chisholm, good morning. I'm glad you're here. I thought you would be snowed in and trying to shovel 2 feet of snow off of people's roofs. Here, we got 8 inches of snow last night. Let's see if we can see out my office window. Over in the corner, I don't know if you can tell, I got 4 vans buried in snow back here, just waiting for an opportunity for things to warm up so we can go out and clean. Everything's pretty chilly here this morning, but it's funny, as cold as it is, it feels like spring's on the way because it's been about -5 for the past week or so. And this morning it was 19 degrees, so I felt like we were on vacation. We were heading down into the tropics. Hey, I see Chris Martinez on here. All right, Derreck, glad you're here. You guys are going to hear from Derreck and Chris a little bit later, and you're going to be blown away. Appreciate that. So if you're just now joining us, go ahead and hit the chat box and put in your name and where you are located. Rudy made it all the way from Canada. Glad you're here, Rudy. We got Matt. He says there's lots of snow and cold here. Not sure where that is, but Dwayne, South Carolina. Aaron from Princeton. John from Harrisburg. Wow. All right. Renee, you're here. All right. Good to see you. How are things in Oklahoma? Matt in Bismarck, North Dakota. I would bet probably Matt in Bismarck has the coldest temperature of anybody on here today, unless we have some of our folks all the way from northern Great White North Canada. Andy's in Alabama. Good to see you here. We emailed you this morning. Let's see. We're right at 10 o'clock. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to take a minute and kind of give you an introduction of what we got going on this morning. Number one thing, thank you so much for being on with us this morning. Before I really dig into it, please somebody just put in the chat box, can you hear me and see me fine? I want to make sure that our audio and video is good. So somebody type in there so I can see you. Cool. Anyway, let me go ahead. Okay, great. We're coming across good. Thank you. All right. So here's the deal. I'm really appreciative that you're here. I realize that there are probably other things you could be doing. I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to share with you some things that are going to really benefit your business. Hang on just a second. Here, let me introduce you to Christopher. He's our tech specialist diving out of the way. This is my son, Chris. He was up early this morning shoveling snow, and now he's handling tech in the background. Can you give me just a second? Can you work with Derreck and anybody to give them presenter links? Or do you need me to do that? Okay. Cool. So I'm going to make a couple of assumptions with you guys, with your business. I'm assuming that you guys are already excellent technicians. So we're not going to talk about how to clean windows or what kind of equipment's better. Although we may answer the question once and for all, which is best, water-fed, pole, or traditional. Just kidding. But we're not really going to go into technical details. What we're focusing on as, and this stemmed out of a post that Josh Latimer had in the Growth Vault. He said, hey, what's your one single goal for 2017? And the majority of people on that goal, I mean, over 100 people responded to that. And most people said, I want to grow. They had specific numbers. They talked about doubling their business. They talked about growing their business. A couple of people said, I want to be happy. I thought that was cool. Somebody said they wanted to bring their wife home from work so she didn't have to work anymore. And that was excellent. But most people want to grow. So that's what we're going to focus on today is growth. And excuse me, before we get to our first presenter, which is Brian Hegerty, I want to tell you a short story and background so you know where I'm coming from. So I started a window cleaning company in 1993. I was young, ponytail, a new wife who was pregnant, and we had nothing. And I struggled like mad, and I'm not afraid to work. So I went out and hustled. I printed some flyers. I knocked on doors. I went to businesses. I mean, I hustled. And our first year, no kidding, first year in business made a whopping $9,000. Okay, $9,000. And that's pretty scary. The next year we made $27,000. I thought we were doing pretty good. Actually, that's not that great. But over the course of time, we grew a business that took care of our basic needs. And we raised a family of 4, and we struggled a lot. And it was only about 5-6 years ago that I decided to actually do something wise and find people that had already done what I wanted to do and learn how to grow our business. And so from the past few years, our business has quadrupled in size, and we're starting to gain some traction. And that's, it's good. It gives me time to do things like this and to I've got more time freedom. I'll put it that way. So anyway, before we come to our first speaker, I've got little notes here on the side. I'm going to keep looking down. Hope you don't mind. I'm going to take just a little chat poll. And if you would, put in the chat box, like, how many years you've been in business and what's your revenue goal for this coming year, okay? Y'all can type that in. All right. Hey, Josh Latimer joined us. Hey, Josh. Good to see you on here. Thank you very much. Cool. Josh just said that he was in business for about 9 years before they sold their company. Larry at 3 years. Can you guys see the chat box, or am I the only one that gets to see everything that's going on here? Chris, does everybody see the chat scroll? Okay, cool. I don't have to read this out loud. You guys can all read that. That's awesome. All right. So here's the thing. We're going to talk about growth. A couple of years ago, I was in Washington, D.C. working with a leadership group called the McChrystal Group. And it's headed up by General Stanley McChrystal, the guy that was in charge of all the military operations in Iraq and Afghanistan from 2003 until he resigned. I think that was in 2008. But I had a great opportunity. I was talking with General McChrystal. He had a dinner at his house, so we were having a beer in his garage. And he's as humble as he can be, a great guy. Anyway, we were talking about teams and growth, and he said, look, if you want to grow anything, he said, one thing you got to know is you're never going to do it alone. And it struck me because I've been in this mentality, and a lot of people are, just because of Hollywood. We've got this Lone Ranger mentality, like you're going to go out and conquer everything on your own. Okay, Rambo only wins by himself in the movies. It doesn't happen that much in real life. If you want to grow something, you got to have a team. And that's why we're going to start this morning talking about hiring and employees, not talking about any other issue. We're talking about hiring and building a team, because that is critical for your growth. And so what I want to go ahead and do is, Brian, are you on here? Because I want to introduce you and get you rolling. Brian, you're in here a little bit earlier. Can you go ahead and hit your presenter link, and let's bring you on live and introduce you to everybody. While Brian's getting clicked in, as a little introduction, I met Brian earlier. Okay, Brian's in here. He says he's not finding his video or mic options. Hang on just a second. Chris, is there anything you can find in the background? Okay, Derreck made it into the room. Great. Well, one of the things that, as you know, as an entrepreneur, is sometimes things don't go exactly as planned. So we're having a little tech glitch on Brian. Brian, why don't you go ahead and just close out and then come back in on your presenter link, and we'll see if we can get you in live for then. And let me go ahead and ask Derreck, you're our second presenter. Derreck, would you be ready to go ahead and present if we need to flip it around? Man, oh man. Excuse me, guys. We're just trying to work out some tech. What do we got here? Okay, tell you what, let's do. Brian, let's go ahead and have you just close out completely. Go ahead and quit and then log back in. Derreck, I'm going to introduce you. Oh, no, hey, even better.
Ta-da!
Here's Brian. He's in. He's live. Okay. So let me tell you about Brian before you start talking. Number one thing you got to see is Brian is in the tropics. Okay, a lot of us guys are sub-zero. We're freezing our tails off shoveling snow. Brian's down in Florida. He's wearing a sweatshirt because it's 50 degrees or 60. Okay, and he's probably going to be fishing all afternoon. But I got to tell you a little bit about Brian. Now, he's got a great company in New Jersey, and he's built it over 27 years. And I met you just at the Window Cleaners Conference earlier this year, and one of the things that's really cool, I hope everybody's paying close attention, because I went out and had dinner with you, Brian, and in the 45 minutes that we had dinner, I learned more in that period of time that I could apply to my business than I learned almost in the rest of the conference. Now, I learned a ton in the conference, but Brian knows his shit. And I'm excited that you're on with us today to share about some employee issues. Go ahead. We've got 20 full minutes for you to go, and you can just dig in as deep as you want to, Brian. I may ask you a couple of questions. And hopefully we have time to take a question or two at the end.
Okay, that'd be great. First, I just want to make sure, is my hair okay?
You look beautiful. Your hair's like...
Thank you, buddy. All right. Yeah, it is nice down here. It's a little breezy. We're getting that same cold front that everybody else is getting. Is the audio okay? Because I have a little wind out here.
Sounds great.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to talk to you about today is, and it seems to be like the number one issue, no matter whenever you do a poll, it's always employees. Like everybody's, I got bad employees. I'm having trouble getting good employees. How do you get my employees to do what I want them to do? It just takes like a different mentality. You really have to figure out how to get the right butts in the right seats. And I put together a little bit of a PowerPoint for you guys so that, I can walk you through it. Feel free to take pictures of the screens if you want. And I have references at the end. I will tell you this, that every single thing that I'm telling you right now is just being regurgitated. All this information is available out there on the web and out there in books. And you just have to read it and get it in your head, change your mindset, and it will change your business. I kind of look at my my business like a championship football team, and just because a guy shows up with shoulder pads and a helmet doesn't mean you're going to let him play. It's like when we were kids and we're playing sandlot baseball or sandlot football, and everybody lines up and two guys pick who's going to get chosen. You're picking. Think about how you chose back then. You chose based on what you already knew about the players. You chose based on their size. You chose based on their speed, their skill. You've already seen them run. You know everything about them. So when you're trying to build the best team possible, you need to do a little research. You just can't hire the first guy that's got, fogging up a mirror. So let me try, we had a little glitch with this before, but let me try switching over to the PowerPoint, and I'll keep the audio on, and I'll be able to help you with this in a second. Do I have everybody there?
Brian, it's looking good. We see your slide and looking good.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear the audio back. Okay. Yeah. So the employees are the who of your business. Everything else is what, like how we're going to do the sales and how we're going to do the marketing and what we're going to send out and all this other stuff. But the who of your business, if you don't have that right, you're not going to have anything. Because if you don't have a guy that can deliver the marketing piece or make the marketing piece correctly, or you don't have a guy that can go out, wash the window right and do it correctly, you have nothing. So the who is everything in your business. Now, when you're doing it, you have to build a championship team. You have to really source out and retain the A players. And now when I say A players, I'm not assuming that like B and C players are stupid or dumb or they don't fit in. Like, I'm a good A player as a business owner and a power washer, but I'm probably an awful C player at being like an engineer. It's not my skill. So you want to find A players in the field that you're looking for them to work in. There may be an A player or like a really sharp guy in some other thing like sports, but they're not going to be an A player when it comes to working in your company. So how do we figure this out? The employee engagement this is an interesting statistic. Less than 25% of all employees in every business are fully engaged in the business. And by fully engaged, I mean they're the guy who's going to come in on Sunday and work. They're the guy who's going to work late. He's the guy who's going to fill out all the paperwork and the forms that you want him to, clean his truck, show up in a uniform. He's the guy that's going to upsell for you. Okay, 40% of your employees are just trading dollars for hours. They're like, I'm getting 10 or 15 bucks an hour. They're like, okay, fine, and I'm out of here at 4:30 because I got to go to the gym, if that's where they're going. 35% are just downright disruptive, and they are disruptive on the 25% who are engaged. They're like, Joe, slow down, man. You're making us all look bad. Joe, why are you always kissing the boss's butt? Why are you working on weekends? How come you're getting all the overtime? These guys, the 35% guys, they're the victims. You want them out. So let's figure out how to get more of the A players. If we figure out how to solve that problem, A players have a 90% chance of attaining the desired outcomes that only the top 10% of candidates can achieve. So how do we get the A players? That's the ticket. First thing you got to know is you got to know the culture in your business. And I don't mean you have to think about what you think about it. You have to ask your other employees what they think about it. Ask some of your staff what they think about it. Say, hey, what's our culture? And ask them. Maybe it's our culture is really fun. We work. We're a team. We're a family. That's the culture. The culture is we work hard for 8 months. We take 4 months off. That's your culture. What do you expect from your employees? You need to know that because they need to know that when you're applying for a job, and you need to know that when you're looking for somebody to come into that job. Do we promote respect before aggression? Do we have ethics and ideals? Ask yourself these questions. Get it figured out because this is really important in figuring out how to get an A player for your team. Now, there's 4 sections to finding an A player for a team. Number 1, you're going to make a scorecard. And I'm going to go into a little depth into that. But you're going to actually make a scorecard, and you're going to grade the applicants on the scorecard to make sure that everybody that's coming in on that scorecard has an A in all the things that you're looking for. You're going to use the selection process, which is going to be our weeding out process, then our interview process. We're going to check their references, etc. We're going to look at how to source these guys out and find them. And then we're going to look on how to sell them to come to work for us, because that's a really important thing. They might want to work for somebody else. Okay, now the scorecard has 3 sections in it. 1 is the mission of the position. So let's just say you're looking for a technician. The mission of that position is to provide customer service to clients, do the basic skills of the job. It's not in the job description, it's the position. Like, what is this guy going to be doing, not how he's going to be doing it. Now, with that, you're going to have accountabilities for that position, and that's the outcome. So let's just say the outcome is the tech needs to do $2,000 worth of gross sales a day. He needs to do $1,800 in booked work that you gave him, plus $200 in upsells that he's going to find on his own while he's out there. He's going to, within 2 years, he's going to be fully trained in all the different aspects of your company. He's going to have his daily sheets filled out. If you have responsibility sheets and check sheets, he's going to keep his equipment neat and clean. So these are the outcomes that you want from this person. You want him to be a customer service rep, so he needs to be articulate, know how to treat customers, and you need to know what his key competencies are going to be, the traits like integrity, honesty, dependability, hard work. Okay, so when you're interviewing and you're looking at these 3 things on this scorecard, and you're saying to yourself, can this guy really do $2,000 worth of work a day? Is this guy really honest? Is this guy really a go-getter? Is he? So you're going to grade him whether he's A, B, or C, because that's the 3 types of players that we have. And you're looking for the A player on the scorecard. If he doesn't even get past that in the initial interview, he's out. Nobody, get the next guy. So in the selection process, we're going to do it. This is the actual after. I'm going to go through our hiring process at the end, but this is just the selection process. So say he goes through the hiring process and we get an application from this person. We're going to go through a screening interview. That's a really quick phone-based interview, and it's going to weed out all the B and C players. We're going to go over, like real quick, a little bit about job history, where you worked last, do you have a driver's license, you ever been arrested, stuff like that, where you're going to find out right away, like, this guy's not even close to being an A candidate. Let's just cut him out before we get going. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to top grade this guy. You're going to bring him in, and you're going to do an interview with him, or we do ours by Skype, but you're going to bring him in and you can do a chronological walkthrough of his entire career. So if there's gaps in his career, you want to know why there's that gap. The gap is there because that's the job he doesn't want to tell you about. Everybody that comes to work for you is a liar until proven different. I mean, not comes to work for you, but actually applies, because they're showing you their best side. They're leaving out all the bad stuff. Everything that could possibly be bad. A resume, all you're doing is about reading maybe exaggerated achievements, most likely exaggerated achievements, maybe true achievements, and definitely none of the bad stuff. So you want to go through a chronological order of every job. So if he says he worked at Burger King, then he says he worked at UPS, then he says he worked for Joe's Landscaping, you make a list of those businesses on top of a sheet, and then you put the questions next to it to top grade them. And the questions are going to be, why did you leave the job? And he'll say, oh, well, it was a mutual agreement. That means he was pushed out. You don't want anybody that's pushed out of a job. If he says something like, well, one of my suppliers who, I'm the customer service rep that was handling that guy, he called me up and he offered me a job. That guy was pulled out. Now he's more of like an A player. That might be the guy that you really want. So you want to go through every one of his jobs and find out whether he pushed or pulled out or got fired or whatever the situation is. Then you want to do a more focused interview, which allows you greater information, and I'll go into that with our process later. And then you're going to do the reference interview. Now, most people say, why bother doing a reference interview? He's just going to give me BS references anyway. They're his buddies. You can get a lot of information out of these people. If you say to them questions like, so how long did you work with this guy? What did you do together? What's this guy really strong at? And then right after they say that, you say, what's he really weak at? They're not going to say nothing. They're going to say something. And so you're going to get a little bit more information about the person. Now, sourcing A players, it requires a lot of time and effort. You know how much money and time you put into marketing to get new clients? You have to put the same amount of time into sourcing and getting new employees. So you need to get the right person for the right job. You got to keep sourcing, and you never hire someone who's good enough. Always wait for the best. Waiting to hire the right person is painful, but it's going to save you time, money, and sanity in the long run. So just kind of wait it out. You got to sell them into the position. If this requires them relocating, you got to talk to their family. Even if it doesn't require relocating and it's like a 12-hour a day job, 5 days a week or 6 days a week in the season, you better be talking to this guy's wife and let her know exactly what the job's about and get her take on it. Because if she's at home all bummed out and upset that he's not home at 6 o'clock for dinner with the kids, or he's not going to be able to make it Saturday to the soccer game, you're going to have a lot of problems, and this guy's leaving. They want freedom. A players need freedom to make their own decisions. You gotta let him know that there's going to be freedom in this job, and he's going to make his own decisions, and he's going to make his own failures, and you're not going to get on his case about it. he also wants to know your books. He wants to know that there's advancement opportunity in the company, and he wants to know he's going to be able to advance. And then what kind of fun you have in your company. You're also looking for a team player. Hunger, humility, people smarts. And the hunger part, I believe you're born with it. I talked to Josh Latimer about this. I really think you're born with it, or you learn it at a very early age. But after, I'd say you're in your teens, you can't get hungry, I don't think. I think it's something you have. And we'll go over how to get that. To get hunger, okay, these are some of the questions that we use. We have about 30 questions for hunger. We have 30 for humility and 30 for people smarts. But, we ask them, what time you normally get up on a weekend? And, what time during the week? Early risers have a lot more energy. They want to get ahead, and they're more productive. They might say, I stay up reading at night, and you ask them what they're reading, and they're reading a self-help book, and then they get up early and go to the gym. That's the guy you want. What's the one thing you accomplished in your career that you're the most proud of? It gives you insight to let you know what makes them tick. Sometimes they tell you about a couple of things that, it's not that really big an accomplishment, and they might not be the superstar you're looking for. What motivates you to come to work? I get some really great things out of this. People say to me, what motivates me to come to work? I feel good about accomplishment, stuff like that. Not like, I got to take care of my wife and kid. Everybody's got to take care of their wife and kid. That's just a B player. You need somebody that's got a different reason. Humility. Tell me about the most important accomplishment in your career, and look for words like we, not I. Test for humility. Describe the most embarrassing moment of your career or your biggest failure. Everybody's had one, and if they say I haven't had one, they're lying to you. They don't pass the test. Describe your greatest weakness. Look for real and painful. Everybody's got a weakness, and mine is leadership. I'm terrible at it. I have a short fuse, and I just go off. And it's one of the things that I'm really working on now, but I'm aware of it. People smarts. How would you describe your personality? So here's this guy. He's describing himself as a hard worker, physically fit. He weighs like 300 pounds. He's got tattoos all over him. He's came in smelling like cigarettes. He doesn't even have people smarts. He doesn't even know what he's about. What kind of people annoy you the most, and how do you deal with them? If somebody says nobody annoys me, it's completely untrue. Everybody gets annoyed by some kind of person, and just keep digging. You'll find that one out. You want to hire winners, not whiners. You do not want victims. You don't want people that are like, oh man, I got divorced, my wife ripped me over the coals, and I'm having such a bad time, and I got pulled over by a cop, and he gave me 10 tickets, and oh my God. The whiners, they just bring your whole staff down. It's like throwing a monkey wrench into the gearbox, and it just blows the whole thing up. Okay. You really want to know if they've had any differences with previous managers. How did they handle them? Here's the bottom line. Someone once said that if John had a problem with Susan, John had a problem with Mark, John has a problem with Mary and Joe, then John's the problem. Whiners create problems, winners create positive results, so that's what you're looking for. Now, training, people have asked me about how to get these people trained once you get them in. We use a video training program, and pay is attached to that. So we take every single thing that can be done in our company, and we videotaped it. And it doesn't have to be fancy. You could do it off an iPhone. I'm going to give you in the resources at the end of this a place that you can go and you can actually make your own training program. It's super easy. You just upload stuff right off your phone, right onto YouTube. Even if it's sketchy or scratchy or you say a bunch of times, who cares? It gets the point across. So you make this video and you keep them short, like 2 or 3 minutes. And make a video, even if you have to break the job up, like roof cleaning, you break it up into 10 2-minute videos. So you break it up into small videos, you have a test, true or false, or put this in the correct order of how to put a ladder on a truck. You open up the door, put the back on first, put the front on, you hold on, tie it off, whatever your training method is. So that they have to think about this, and then you take them out in the field and make them actually do what they saw. They can do this training at home on their own time, and their pay is based on where they are in the training. So you make it level 1 techs all need to know this stuff. Level 2 techs all need to know this stuff. Crew managers all need to know this stuff. And as they progress through this and as you check off on it, they get raises. So nobody's ever saying to you, hey, when do I get a raise? You just say, just go do the training, you get the raise. If you don't do the training, you don't get the raise. It's all on you. And an A player will rip through this training like you can't believe. They'll get it all done and nothing flat. Now, here's some of the references in the books that I'm talking about. It's one of these books is called Who, the A Method of Hiring. Take a picture of the screen, guys, if you have your phone. The A Method of Hiring. It's really good about how to hire A-type players. Top Grading is written by actually that guy's brother, and it's also a book on how to hire A players. And the Ideal Team Player will tell you how to search for guys with hunger, humility, and people smarts. The video training, you can use a program called Talent LMS. Just look them up on the internet, and you can go right in there and make a program. I think it's like unlimited amount of people can use it for like $400 a year or something, and you can make all your training, and it's only costing you $400 a year. And guys, if you're not in the Josh Latimer's boot camp, you're doing yourself a total disservice. I'm in Josh Latimer's boot camp, and my business is going into $1 million this year. He's got it down. He's been in business for a long time, and as Sid said before, Sid's in it. And you know, we're not here to boot camp. That's not what this is about. But I just wanted to put a plug in for Josh because he really works hard at it. He really cares. He gave me an idea the other day that's going to help me double my business next year. And it was so simple, I didn't even realize it. And I was like smacking myself in the head. I'm like, oh my God, I can't even believe I didn't see that. He goes, Brian, you're too close. You need to have a business coach. This is why I'm here. So that's the gist of it. I would highly recommend that you get in with Josh and read these books, and that's going to help you a lot on the on that. Now I'm going to try to switch back over here. Oh, how'd that come out?
Cool. There you are, Brian.
I'm back. Okay. So I think we got a couple minutes. I can take a question or two from anybody if you want to type it in the chat box.
Yeah. Anybody type in a specific question, you've got it. And Brian, I just wanted to mention something. I've got to ask you, when you do in your hiring process, once somebody gets to the actual interview, you do a group interview by Skype, so you've got 2 or 3 of your staff with you and the candidate. How long is that interview?
They usually go about 2 hours. We want to make sure, somebody can lie to you for 30 minutes or 15 minutes. They're not going to lie to you for 2 hours, and we ask a lot of really hard questions. The higher level of the position, like right now we're looking for like management, and those interviews are going to be multiple 2-hour interviews. I want to make sure that when I'm bringing somebody into that position, I mean, that's like $100,000 a year position plus a piece of the business. Yeah. And when I'm bringing them into that position, I want to make sure, without a doubt, 100% I have the right person.
Well, there's something that you said that I think you did absolutely nailed it, and that was that you never hire somebody who's just good enough. Wait until you hire someone that's the best. But what most of us do, what I've done in the past is, when I need somebody, then I'm kind of desperate. Then I'll hire the first person that shows up on time for an interview because they're on time. Now, we don't
How'd that work out?
Before, but man, it never works out.
I can tell you this. I think before this, I owned gas stations back in the 80s. So I think probably in my life, I've hired close to 1,000 people. Literally hired close to 1,000 people. And I remember one time in the 80s, my accountant saying to me, Brian, you're going through like 100 employees a year, man. You got to knock this off. You got to figure it out. And I never figured it out. It took me quite a while to actually get it down to the point where you had to get the right person for the job. And so you have to make that scorecard. You have to say, look, this is exactly who I'm looking for, and I'm not taking anybody else. This is it. And when you get that guy, like right now, we have, and by the way, a lot of part-time people are hungry. They're firemen, policemen, anybody who wants to work 2 jobs, that's somebody that's hungry. So those guys always work out, and believe it or not, those are my longest-term employees. My longest-term employee has been with me 22 years. 22. He's a fireman, and he works for me every summer, 3 days a week.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, 22 years.
I got a question from Josh. He said, and you've got a pretty solid screening process, so most of the applicants don't even get to interview, but about how many interviews do you typically need to make one single hire for a field position?
I think Josh is probably asking, like, how many people am I going through before I get to that position? Using our process now is pretty simple. Here's how it works. We put an ad on Craigslist or Indeed. In the ad, it says, do not reply to this ad. And I got this idea from Sid. Don't reply to this ad. Go to this 800 number and listen to this message. So they go to an 800 number and they listen to me talk for about 4 minutes. It's everything about the job. What you're going to do, you're going to work in rain and heat and wind. It's heights, it's it's fun. The culture's great. We get 4 months off. You can travel. Here's all the places everybody's gone. And we talk about all that. And then I say, here's what I want you to do. I want you to, if this sounds like it's for you, I want you to leave me your phone number. I want you to leave me your first name and your last name, and I want you to spell it slowly and clearly. And then I want you to talk to me for a minimum of 2 minutes and tell me everything about yourself. I want to know where you live, how your family is, how you grew up, your first job, what's the best job you ever had. Tell me if you played team sports. Tell me who's the best boss you ever had. Tell me anything that I think that you think that I should know about you to interview you. Okay, that weeds out. I'm weeding out all the B and C guys already. The B and C guys don't even read the whole ad. They just send you their resume. They're gone. Then the guy who thinks he's an A guy reads through the whole or listens to the whole thing and goes, oh, I don't want to do that. He's gone. The guy who actually leaves that message, your odds of him being the right guy are probably like 70-30. 70-30, he's the right guy. Then that's your experience too, Sid?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Instead of going through, having 50 people to call back to do a phone interview and set appointments with, you've got 3 people that all paid attention to detail and made it all the way through the process. And of those 3, you probably got 1 A player, maybe.
Exactly. So to answer Josh's question, I'm not weeding out 60 people. I'm letting 60 people weed themselves out, and I'm getting down to the 3 that are finalists before I even talk to them. So I'm really only going through like 3 or 4, and then I'm finding the right one out of that one. And right now we're hiring. We are actually right now hiring for March. So anybody out there who has a seasonal business, do not wait until March to hire people. Start hiring right now, and not put them on payroll. Get them set up to work.
Yeah, good. Hey, Brian, thank you very much. We actually have about
You're welcome,
10
Sid.
more questions. If you've got time to hang around to end the webinar, we'll go back to Q&A. And if
Okay, I'm going to do
that.
that. There was one slide I didn't put into my PowerPoint, and I'm going to bring up our whole process because it seems like that's what they're asking for. So I put that up on the screen later, and people can just take a picture of it.
Okay, great.
All right.
And cool. Well, thank you very much. All right, I've just got a message that my audio is quiet. Can you guys hear me any better?
I hear you great, Sid.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and Brian, thanks again. Oh, I've got to tell everybody one thing that you said. We were on a call the other day, Brian, and you said something incredibly profound to me, and that was you said to have a great business, you've got to have great systems. And you've just shared some of your systems about hiring and training. But to have a great business, you got to have great systems. And you said don't spin your wheels trying to figure it all out on your own. Find somebody that's got a great system and just buy it. And I was like, God, of course.
Josh has it.
Yeah.
He's already got it. I mean, like I bought it. It's like I'm not like I said at the beginning. I'm not telling you anything that I didn't learn from somebody else. I learned this from Josh, Howard, you, all the people I network.
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to take up any more time. All right.
Yeah, we've got to move on. We got Chris Martinez up next, and he's going to talk about marketing and marketing basics. Here's Chris. I'm going to try to change our screen up because I've got 5 chat heads open. You know how to do this, Chris? My tech guy is on the way. Hang on just a second. All right. Chris, you there? I see Chris Martinez. I actually can't hear you. Can you click your microphone button? Try again. Okay, we still have you on. Chris, we don't hear you yet. Hang tight. Let's work on this tech for just a second. While we're working on getting your microphone live, I want to tell everybody a little bit about Chris. Number one, you can see. Yeah, we can't hear you yet. Can anybody hear Chris Martinez? We got nothing. Chris, will you try unplugging your headphones and just see if we can hear you on the mic on the computer? We are still quiet. Everybody's enjoying looking at you in your drum set, but nobody can hear you. Okay. Click. I know, technical issues, right? While we're getting this thing figured out, Chris, I'm going to give you, Chris, a real introduction. As you can see, Chris Martinez is quite the burly dude. He's got, when I first met Chris, he sat down beside me and we started talking about business, and he's like big and burly. He's got a shaved head, a righteous beard, and some tattoos. And at first glance, you might be intimidated by Chris, but I got to tell you something. Once you talk to him, you'll see a man that's not afraid to fight against the odds or challenges that life can throw at you. Yeah, I know. Don't shake your head. You're modest, but this is true. He's growing a strong business in Texas, and this young man, Chris Martinez, has the heart of a lion. So right now, he's a strong man of faith. I'm going to call you Chris. We're going to call you Chris the Lionhearted for the rest of this interview. As soon as we get audio for you, We're going to get this thing worked out, and we're going to hear everybody. You got nothing. Okay. Let me ask Chris in the background if we got anything else going on.
Hey, Sid, just tell him to X out and come back on. That's what I did.
Okay. Hey, Chris Martinez, let's do this. Go ahead and you can hear me, but we can't hear you. So go ahead and close out. And hang on just a second. Boop. Go ahead and X out, Chris, and then log back in to your presenter link, and let's see if we can get you going from there. Okay? And for everybody, that's going to take just a second. So I want to tell you while Chris is getting back online, we are recording this, and we're going to put up a live replay for 3 days. It'll be up. You can grab it then. That'll help you out with some of the slides that Brian shared, so you can make your notes and go over it again, because Brian shared some solid gold. Let me know when Martinez pops back in. All right. This is a moment that I call technical difficulties with awkward silence. I apologize for not having anything to say. Says he's still on? We'll wait. So guys, give us just a second. Give me a second. I need to look over here. Cool. I haven't done tons and tons of webinars. I know, Josh, you're on here. You've done quite a few. Has it ever happened to you where you had a tech glitch and you just had to wait or try to what do they call it? Pivot? That's what entrepreneurship is all about. Okay. Looks like Chris is back on. Back in here. And Chris, you getting logged in? We've got your logged in.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, everybody, round of applause.
Yes.
Chris is back. Okay, everybody, round of applause. Chris is back.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay, Chris.
What's
I'm gonna
up,
go
guys?
quiet
I hope
and let you take off.
having
Okay,
a
Chris.
great day.
I'm gonna go quiet and let you take off.
Sid, well, thank you so much for having me on, brother. Hey, listen, guys, we're going to be doing switch from screen share to the webcam. There may be a slight delay, so I haven't gone anywhere, but you guys can hear me and see me, correct? Yes, awesome. A little lag. Okay, well, I live out in the country, so it's going to be a little bit laggy. I can't do anything about that. My internet sucks. But I promise you guys, we're gonna deliver some high value nuggets to you. So bear with me here. Let's go to talk about something. I love this picture. You can see this picture. This picture has everything that really marketing is: customer, analytic, market, sales, promotion, price, internet, target. Notice that it says marketing, and then those two things are completely different. I could literally probably spend a whole week talking about marketing, but I only have about 15-20 minutes to discuss some things. So I only want to talk about some things that will help you to completely dominate your area. Any of us are in business to compete. I think we're all in dominate. And so I put out I'm actually in a complete marketing guide on how Love My Windows took its company from $0 to sales to 4,000 to 8,000 to 20,000, and how we did that. We are barely 3 years old, and so I'm taking a little bit of what I wrote in this thing, like it. That's where it's at, and it'll be available here in the next couple months. But I'm only going to talk about three when it comes to marketing. But I think will help you grow the fastest. A little bit of resources that you possibly have. The first thing is your market. I'm not going to spend too long in talking about this, but I do want to build up for what I'm going to in the next segments. Number two is forecasting your marketing efforts. I think the hardest part of being an entrepreneur and business owner is actually figuring out how much is it going to cost me and what can I expect from this. And number three, reading. This is something that we have thrived on. I mean, we've excelled at it. We've built a tool along the way, and I think that if you write, it can save you some money in the long run. So find your market. First of all, guys, I almost want to still young business. So everything today comes from a young mindset. I don't have 15 years. Have a whole lot. Here's what we have done is grown rapidly. You guys do that, and we've done that by identifying our market. So there's vendors, or excuse me, is your value or price? Does your market care more about price than it does value? Value. Value customers, users that pay you more, or price customers is more of a volume-based model where customers that pay you less. For instance, the 20 windows for $99. Now, this price customers, guys, I know we talk room in the market for price customers, and here's the deal. I'm fortunate enough to live in an area that economies in America, so I know my area is filled with value customers. My customers, when I have a car, I knew exactly who my customer was. I knew that my customers shopped at Whole Foods and drank Starbucks coffee. I know that my customers shop at a cheaper grocery store, and they can, but they also don't mind spending a little bit more where they. So you have to identify your market, and you can usually do that by just asking that question: where do the people around me shop? Whole Foods in my area, or corner store for the cheap. Store for the cheapest thing. So, there's certain questions that you can identify. Your preference is in value customers. I don't want to do, $6,000. I want to do 1 or 2 homes to do a residential market. So most of the things I'm going to talk about are going to be geared toward perceived value. I'm all about. So when you're talking about these valuable customers, you're from perceived value. Well, how do you add perceived value? You do it through marketing. Everything about you to say value. Your flyers need to say value. Your uniforms need to say value. Blow the customer's mind before they even use you. I often say, don't sell a service, I sell the value. People think that Love My Windows is the best company to use this. Why? Because of all the perceived value that goes into it. Josh Latimer came out with something called the customer life. What we've done is extended that customer life cycle to our. How did that customer hear about us? If it was through a flyer, then it needs to be flyers out there. Like it needs to blow the competition away. If it's our website, the competition away. It has to be so much better than everybody else is out there. You can go and take a look at our website at lovemywindows.net. You can kind of see where we're going with that. Every little marketing piece we dreams is value. We come up with a slogan that says service you can trust. One of the ways that we produce our value is we get to go inside people's homes. I use that against them. I'm also a roof washer. I can put anybody on top of the roof. I can't say anybody, but anybody on top of a roof. Anybody inside of somebody's mansion. I can't. They have to be drug-free. They have to have that. Give to my customers as they to help them find the value in our paying. Anybody can go out and wash windows, right? Anybody can. They're not paying for me to come out and wash the windows. What they're paying for is the service that they. So that's where we're gonna. So find your, let's get back here. How you fit into this, guys? If you have customers that see the value in your charge a little bit more. If you're in an area like, for instance, there's born and raised Texas City, Texas, Galveston area. These are going to be more price cuts. I went all around. I got to travel this year, and every place I went, I would ask my charge what I just neighborhood, or in this area, or in this town, or in this state even. And a lot of the times it was up with the get increased cut 10 to 9. And then find the value. And let's talk about numbers, guys. I know I told you I was going to fly through that. Numbers and marketing. How do you figure out how much you and how much can you expect in return? When you're dealing with these three things that you're going to have to know. If you can know these three things, it will save of money, a ton of headaches, a ton of freaking out, a ton of, right? Response rate. You need to know your response rate, guys. Luxury and the beauty of being a part of a community out there of window washers that I'm sure will help you, and you can kind of find other people's response rate, average them together, the numbers that we use, and you can kind of start there if you want. How many people will your advertisement, spelled advertisement wrong, right? You need to know your close rate. Out of how many people call you, how many people will book you and pay for your services? This is called your close rate. And then you need to know ticket price. How much will that be? Very important when forecasting your business revenue. If you want 10 new customers, you're no longer going to have to guess at how to get them. So I'm going to come back. Tool that we use, not mine. This is from the WCRA, guys. If you want this, but holy cow, man, this makes your job completely easy. Exactly what I said. So if you want 10 new jobs, matter of fact, dude, you can engineer everything that you want to do, right? And I'll in a second. 10 new jobs a week, right? And you got a response rate of percent. I wouldn't go any higher. If you do already, do not go any higher than 50 point. Do not go any higher than 0.5%. If you don't know your close ratio, I would actually go lower to about 50% until you find out your close. I try to keep mine around 70%. I just learned that from a rate of 90%, and Josh told me I was leaving too much money on the table. Absolutely right. We increased our price and dropped our close ratio a little bit, but in the increase the price. Our ad is actually a little bit more than this now because we do roof washing, window cleaning. But for the sake of you window cleaners, made it $300 because that's about the average ticket price that our average window cleaning is. So if you want 10 new jobs, and these are your numbers right here, you're going to 2,857 pieces, guys, or pass out that many flyers. Now, here's the two, right? Guys, you come out, you're going to information, and it's going to tell you this campaign is going to be around $7. You're going to get 14 leads from it. And you're going to book 10 jobs. The total revenue that you're going to produce is around 380%. The total campaign cost me $789, and I get to make $2211. Now, this is your customer acquisition cost, guys. These are numbers that you have to know, guys. These are numbers. Excuse me, hold on here.
Uh-oh, Chris, did we lose you? I don't see you anymore.
Reverse engineer this whole thing. If you want to make an extra $10,000 that month, then you need to know, then this kind of gets you to where you're like, okay, I need to have this many customers and this is how much it's going to cost me. You're no longer shooting at the hip, guys. So response rate, let me pull this back up. Your close rate and your average ticket price. If you can know those three numbers, guys, it's going to save you so much money. It's going to save you so much headaches. And one last thing I want to talk about is the customer lifetime value. If you saw down there that, you know, it cost me around $79 a customer, here's what I want to say. Don't let that scare you away, guys. Josh Latimer says your customer acquisition cost should be around
Okay, it looks like we may have lost you, Chris. Let's see if Chris comes back on.
a window cleaning business. You have the luxury of repeat customers. When I'm doing roof washing, once that roof is done, that customer's not going to call me back probably for 3 to 5 years to wash their roof. They could call me for other services, but for roof washing, they're not going to call me back for about 3 to 5 years if I do my job right. So the beauty about window cleaning is, yes, it cost me $79 to obtain that customer, but you know what? If I do my job right and I book them 2 to 3 times a year, I pull 2 to 3 referrals from them, then that no longer really matters to me, because the customer lifetime value of that is phenomenal. So I'm going to just real quick, guys, give you this how to come up with your customer lifetime value. I didn't put this in the slide, but I will put it on the page later. So you're going to come up with $2,050. Let's just say that you get 2 referrals per year from them at the same amount, at $350. Dude, once you start to figure these numbers out, that $79 for the customer acquisition cost is, to me, now I know I'm speaking as a beginner, as a new guy that's just trying to have massive growth. And I know some of the older guys, man, when I tell them this, it drives them crazy, right? But if you do your job right, you follow up with them, you put the 5 rounds on them, you give them thank you cards with little gift certificates in them, right? All this stuff that will help them give you referrals, guys, that $79 really doesn't matter. Last thing I want to talk about, guys, and we're going to go back to the screen sharing, is relationship marketing. Says I'll build it. This is something that we've gotten really last year is relationship marketing, and that's building people that just give us work. And here are the sources you need to go after it. The manufacturer. You need to go after who services it, or who maintains it. So what do I mean by all of that? Sure, those are the people who make it. We're talking window cleaning here, so this is very easy. A lot of industries, this will be a little bit harder to find out, but for us window cleaners, this is going to be really easy. The manufacturer, people like Pella Windows, Champions, Anderson Windows. Who makes the windows? That can be a referral source for you. After I share this with you guys, I'm going to tell you exactly how we go in and how we sell our jobs to them and get these guys to refer business to us. Who services it? This is who fixes the broken window. You know what I mean? This is a referral source. These guys usually don't clean windows. The manufacturer usually only installs them. They don't clean them. These guys usually they don't clean them. Who maintains them? Well, we know the window cleaner maintains them. We maintain them, but who else could? The maid service? Well, I can guarantee you there's no maid service in my area washing windows. Real estate agents, they could. I mean, that's not their job. These are the 3 people that you want to go after when you're going after excuse me, referral sources. So this is exactly how I get back to my screen. Share.
It looks like we were chopping in and out there for a while and lost Chris's audio. Give it just a second, see if Chris gets back in. Here we go.
Pillar window people, exactly how we do it, and I'll use the real estate agent, but we designed marketing pieces just for real estate agents. I know you guys probably can't see that. It says, let us help you sell houses. And, you know, it talks a little bit about our company. It tells them why they need to get their windows cleaned before they sell the house, why they need to get their house power washed before they sell the house. And then, I mean, we even talk about our referral bonus. We give a 10% for every job a real estate agent sends to us. Now, in some states, that's not allowed, so look and see what the legality is before you go and offer this. Some real estate agents.
Okay, can you hear me at all? Let's see if Chris gets back on here.
Every Tuesday,
there we
you
are.
want to get it to the point to where they say, when you miss a Tuesday, you want to get to the point where they say, dang, where's Chris at with my donuts? You know what I mean? You want them to get pissed off, like, dude didn't show up with my donuts. Once they get to that point, when you miss a Tuesday and you come back the next Tuesday, and they say, hey, Chris, where were you last Tuesday with the donuts? Now you know you're in, and that's when I go in for the kill. Hey, look, hey, Nancy, yeah, you're right. And I start building relationships that way. If you want to go into maid companies, don't ever go in expecting to make the sale right away.
What is it?
What you want to do is it may take 6 months for you to even get the first job, guys. It may take you a long time for you to even get a job. Can you hear me?
All right. Here, let me pop this up. Chris, that is nothing but pure gold. Now, toward the end, we lost some audio, so we're going to try to recapture that. I've got a couple of questions for you, Chris. But one is, would you be willing to share that slide deck? I think that'd be really, really helpful, something that we could share with the audience later. If we could share that with it. Could you do that? If we could share that with it. Could you do that? Do you know how to go split screen on this, Chris? Do you know how to go split screen on this, Chris? Do you know how to make it just two-person split screen? How to make it just two-person split screen? Maybe that's connected. Can they hear me? Maybe that's connected. Okay. Can they hear me? Hey guys. Okay. Sorry, Chris. Hey guys. Again, that was Chris. Fantastic. Here's a couple of questions for you. One thing that you hit early on was, and you just kind of went right past it, was about your marketing, how you have to have a unified or congruent image and message, and that includes your vehicle, your uniforms, your cards, your website, the way you talk to your customers. But the key to that is that you're going for higher value customers, higher price customers. That you have to develop and achieve trust. That they've got to trust you, right? Develop and achieve trust. That they've got to trust you, right? Are we on? Chris Martinez, nod if you can hear me.
Can you hear me now?
Are we on? Chris Martinez, nod if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you, Sid.
Okay, I'm going to switch mics and see if we can kill that echo. Okay, I'm going to switch mics and see if we can kill that echo.
Sid.
Okay, in the chat box, let me know. Or do we have that nasty reverb, or is it good? Okay, in the chat box, let me know. Or do we have that nasty reverb, or is it good? Can you guys hear me okay? Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you, Sid.
Well, I can't tell.
Is it still
okay.
echoey?
Well, listen, here's what we've got going on a technical side back here is Chris, I can't hear you anymore, so I can ask you questions, but I won't be able to hear your answer. And that doesn't help everybody. So why don't we do this? I'm going to assume that it's going to be okay,
Can you not hear
Chris,
me? Hello?
that we get that
1, 2,
you
3.
could share that slide deck with us. I think that'd be really helpful for everybody. And we'll share that. Can you, Chris, close out and then log back in, and we'll see if we can do some question and answers at the end of the webinar. Would that work okay? Just type it in the chat box because I can't hear you at all. A big yes. Okay. You can hear him? Okay. Okay. Hold on. Everybody hears Chris. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, a little bit. All right. Let me just ask this one question for you, Chris, and you can answer. Apparently, everybody can hear you but me. So, what's your mindset when you go to help develop, when you're trying to develop trust, where your customers trust you? Because if you're going into people's $2 million homes, I mean, they've got to trust who's going in there. What's in your mind, and how do you help them develop trust for you? I'm going to bring you up big. You're on.
You guys there? I'm an idiot. I had my mic muted. So Sid, the way we do it is through marketing. Every piece of marketing that we have says, I know, right? I'm an idiot, guys. Sorry about that. So look, you do it through marketing, and like I said earlier, Josh has this lifetime customer lifetime thing. We've extended that customer lifetime on how does a customer hear about us. If it's through EDDM, they're going to get the best looking postcard that they've ever seen as far as window cleaning goes in their mailbox. On their door, they're going to get the best looking flyer on their door, and it's going to push. They're not going to have to read too much. They're going to see the pictures and oh, look, these guys are uniformed. Look, I see him washing my windows with his shirt tucked in. Look, I mean, all this stuff is strategically placed here, guys. This isn't just there, to fill up some space here, right? The service you can trust that you see down here, that's strategically placed there. When we go, we're putting it in a brochure. It's nice and shiny and colorful brochure, guys. You know what I'm saying? This isn't like we're not priced on a sheet of paper. Everything that we do, if they go to our website and they see the website, they're going to say, holy cow, it's better than the competition's. So everything that we do marketing-wise says expensive, it says value, and it says I can trust them. Like, to me, that's where it starts. So everything has to be in unison. You can't just have a nice brochure with a crappy website, crappy flyer, crappy EDDM, show up with holes in your pants. Everything needs to be in unison. Like, you have to have the whole package if you're going to portray this perceived value thing, right? You can't just go up and do one thing. You have to do it all. So that's how I do it, Sid.
Sid, your mic's off. Sid, your mic's off.
Chris, I was telling everybody how amazing you are, but apparently my microphone was off. So I just got to tell them again. Now that's pure gold, because you can't show up to a customer's home and charge a high price and they're looking at you thinking, dude, you need to pull up your pants. You got to be congruent all the way across at the top level if you want to charge a top level, for a value customer. So that's great. Chris, I hope you can stick around so we can do some Q&A at the end. We need to move ahead because Derreck is waiting and he's our next presenter. Is that cool? All right. We're going to go ahead and move forward. Thank you very much, Chris.
Man. Thank you, Sid.
You're the best, man. All right, I've got to tell you a little bit about Derreck Smallwood, and he's our next presenter, and here's what you need to know. Derreck is, to me, he's the man behind the curtain, because he's very humble, he's unassuming, but this guy is rocket science smart. And I want to tell you, I was talking to him yesterday, and I met him recently at the conference, and I got to tell you, he's owned his own window cleaning company, and he does a lot of technical and coding things in the background. He's got a lot of experience. But he told me yesterday, and this surprised me, shouldn't have surprised me, but he told me that he actually, when he was 12 years old, he started looking into and selling on eBay. Before it was even called eBay, it was called Auction Web, right? Back in 1996, 97. And he's done a huge amount of coding and programming, and he actually started or acquired Squeaky Clean window cleaning down in Arkansas. And this is one of the main reasons I want him on here, because he told me when he started his company, he's got 40 customers, and he leveraged simple systems of follow-up and asking for referrals. And he systematized it where it happened in an automated way. And he did that. And in 18 months, he had over 950 customers, which is amazing. That's huge growth, especially for somebody new in it. So I'm going to step off here and invite Derreck to the full screen. Derreck, I love it. You're amazing. He is the man behind the curtain. We're just going to call him the Wizard.
I had to compete with all those beautiful slide presentations because I didn't prepare anything like that, but I think everybody's like maybe relieved because we don't have to look at more slides. So I'm going to just, I guess the problem is I'm not in front of the spotlight very much, so nobody really knows much about me. So I thought just real, quick, I would, you already mentioned about eBay and everything. That was Auction Web in 97. The funny thing about that was I was young and I didn't have any money, so I did have CDs, and so I sold some CDs to get the $15 and bought this list online where they proposed that you could have all access to all these manufacturers and online distributors to be able to sell products. So I was like, that would be really cool because that would get me in the door and I could sell stuff and this machine would just spit out money. Anyway, but there's not a quick magic button that you just press and it spits out money. So that was, that faded away. It didn't work. But I spend most of my time, like Sid said, with behind the scenes, just helping with sales funnel consulting, product launches, technical support, mild coding now. In the past, I used to do a lot of coding, and I didn't really enjoy it too much. So I try to, outsource those types of things, but where I can, I do it. So, I do have some stories, but we only have 20 minutes. So I really wanted to leave more room in my particular segment to leave time for the attempted answers section from myself anyway. And also, I had to compete with the horse mask with Chris's glorious beard. So I do have a special gift at the end of this that I wanted to give you guys because I didn't really have like a whole bunch of really like fire material like you see Chris and Brian. They do such a great job, very knowledgeable people, and even Josh after this. So I was faced with 3 problems in my cleaning business, and the first problem is that the town that I live in is 5,800 people, and this is where all my family is, and I maxed my growth. I think we were doing, I think it was like 40,000 or something a year to 60,000. It's just, there's not a whole, it's just a poor economy like town, just nowhere. You know, we don't have a mall or anything like that. It's Walmart. So that was the first problem. So that was fixed by moving nearly 3 hours away to a town with, I think it was like 150,000 people or something in it. Second problem, 3 hours away, and then to recruit employees without seeing them or being around them at all. So that was the second problem. And the third problem is to follow up with my customers like an absolute champ, to where no one would compete with me in that area at all. And within the 1 year that I moved to Fayetteville, which was like it was 2015. So yeah, not last year, but 2015, moved up there. My competitors that I started networking with knew my presence was there. They felt them losing customers. They just definitely knew that I was a player in their area now, and they had been in business for a while. So what caused that to happen? What made it to where I didn't have to spend hardly anything on advertising, to make a difference and to grow this company, especially starting out and moving from such a small area and just trying to get things going and organized. So I wanted to go over just those three problems and how I solved those on just my website. And a website that the conversion rates are on 18 to 26%. So I thought I would just do that. Let's see here. Turn on my screen share. I have 3 screens, so. You guys bear with me. All right. The first thing is just website elements that I like to focus on. One is reach elements. Alan, yes, I do use CDNs. It's highly recommended to put something in between your website and the slow servers that you're forced to use at a cheap rate. Unless you have a dedicated server, CDN is definitely going to increase the speed. But back to my elements here. The reach elements that I want to just show you is just keywords, first off. So SEO guys will tell you about keywords. Fortunately, Google is about to rule out some keyword changes that's not going to really have a huge impact here. But headlines and in your H1 and H2 tags are super important. Also, mapping name, address, and phone on every page of the site is super important for local listings. So every single page that I show you will have a local thing. Also, I don't know if this will work, but I will shrink the site, and you see that it's mobile friendly and people can take action. So these few reach elements are very important. The next thing is engagement elements. So focusing on your avatar and not super important, because you're trying to talk directly to your customer, the consumer, and you just want to show what you're doing for them. So the thing is, all these different icons are trust icons. So it can be badges you've won, it can be just satisfaction guarantee badges, trust badges at all helps you with a higher conversion rate on your website. So those are important. The next thing is being able to share and have that engagement with your customers, friends, etc. So like this particular one, the person left a testimonial. They want to share that with their friends, and actually we've got all these testimonials being given. Every single one of these has been given an email that has a similar landing page on, let's see, the showroom. Go to the showroom. You'll see some of these have like reviews on them if I'm on one, but let's see. Yeah, Kyle, it is a hatch site. Yeah, this is a hatch site. Mark Palmer does great. So it's a little bit pricey. But anyway, so each one of these projects is a landing page, and so each client actually gets a link to be able to share their testimonial, etc. Also, it gives that unique URL. We use this to share on social quite a bit, just to create those landing pages. But anyways, so then the last thing would be conversion elements to pay attention to, and that is actually the tracking phone number, a strong call to action above the fold, and then a live chat or opt-in box would be ideal. Now, I'm in the process of actually selling this company, so I had to turn all this stuff on just for this presentation for you guys. But so I don't have some active, but I can show you briefly. The first thing would be I fixed the whole being 3 hours away and trying to collect estimate. All this stuff was solved through Responsibid. And Responsibid is kind of pricey. You can do the same thing with a survey that is integrated with a autoresponder, which is your email. And so you can do the similar thing, but this works so much better. It's totally worth the money. But you can have the client. I mean, it would be all day, every day. People are just doing estimates. It's crazy how well this works. But I was actually going to show you a little bit of behind the scenes, and that's the autoresponder of Responsibid, which is really cool. I've actually got built out like all kinds of things. We had bad weather for that day or something. I had emails that I could just change their status, and it would start emailing all the customers and letting them know that we're not going to make it out or whatever, and that we would follow up with a phone call. And I mean, so you see I've got all these differences. In the digital world, really and talk directly to your customer. So various tools that you might encounter have different things that you can use. So so this was just kind of, yeah. So I'm just kind of looking at you guys' comments. But does anybody have any questions or want me to show you around Responsibid while I'm in here? I know we've got a few people. One request. Oh, Alan. Yeah, gotcha. All right. So whenever the job was done, we would always have emails going out that would actually have them collect the review and do us a favor, share on Facebook, and then I would just do this funny thing where I would just send another email and say, hey, sorry, but I forgot to share these links, and I purposely did not link. I think I didn't leave. Yeah, I didn't leave any links in this, and then I sent another email, and so I increased our shares on these things. A few points, which was worth it. Yeah, thanks, Josh. Anyway, so that's Responsibid. I wanted to get into the next thing that I used to fix my problem, which was being able to hire employees, and that can be done several different ways. Where I actually had videos of myself and even this lady that asked questions, and I did an interview. And I can't take you through all of it, but I do have, like our job description and qualifications on here. I copied that directly out of the boot camp that Josh has, and just copied and pasted it. Works great. I changed a few things, and no need to overcomplicate it. And so after this employees section, just putting in the information, there's like videos of me asking them questions, and then they respond with videos, which was really cool. So I solved that next problem. And then the last problem was being able to follow up like a champ. And so I'll show you guys just my SendGem account if you guys were considering using a tool for this. I've actually got quite a bit of automation done in this with the follow-up, and integrations come sometime soon. And so whenever it happens, it'll be that much better. But for now, what I have is just that my office person goes in and starts a sequence. So if we complete a job, then the sequence starts directly after that and follows up to the customers. And you're asking probably what the sequence is. Well, it's a year to year and a half follow-up sequence that even has random cards that says, hey, we it up. And So 1 year sequence, and keep in mind my emails are hitting the customer at the exact same time the postcards are. So there would be an email saying, hey, it's been about 30 days since we've been out, or it's been, 90 days since we've been out, and then they get a card that's just, hey, we're just checking in, almost the same time. And so what's really cool about SendJim is the ability to send a very personalized one-off card to your customer. So you can make it extremely funny, or, very specific to their neighborhood. But the reason that you have such a high conversion on a strategy like this, especially with direct mail, is that there's familiarity with the card itself because of the automation put behind bringing in that address image into the card. So the conversion rates increase from 0.5% with EDDM to conversion rates high on something using SendJim. Now, my account's not fully set up, but in some categories of how I would separate out prospecting ones we would use, and then we would use let's see, this is a thank you sequence. If you had if you did demographics on your city and then you target it based on income or house size, then you could have very strategic cards and sequences set up just for those people. And then in your addresses, you could actually tag all those addresses correctly, and then you could just bring up a list. So tomorrow, if I wanted to email every single customer and I wanted to send them all a card, then I'm just going to come in here, go to current customers, which is probably not all up to date. We have 992 and this is 415, but I could just quickly select all of these, and then I could send a quick send. My quick send. Oh, I gotta select them all. All right. Alright, so I selected all that, and then I just select what sequence I want to send them. So maybe it's just a general. Maybe I just want to send them a general card, just saying, hey, what's going on, you guys? Oh, this one's we miss you. So I just send them all we miss you, and it's got a price on the back, and then you're talking maybe 5 to 20% right off the bat. Anywhere in that, it can happen. So it's a really nice tool. The second thing that I wanted to point out about the website, which makes it a higher converting website, is the fact that it has landing pages. And landing pages are super handy because you can target a very specific message with a call to action for that. Now, there's some things I don't like about a hatch site that I've went ahead and allowed myself to look over, but I don't like that there's options to leave this page. This would do better, it would convert better as far as advertising if there was no options to leave this site and had a clear call to action. So I know I've covered a lot in such a short amount of time. Was there any questions so far? No? Why not do response bid on a monthly basis and do 240? Oh, okay. Alan, responsive bid and SendJim are two different characters, so it's apples and oranges. Next question. I don't know how to answer that. It's responsive bid does email great. SendJim first, and so I'm going and I just added on SendJim, so all the emails were already in place with my autoresponder. Chris.
Okay.
A website is usually. Yeah. Hey, Sid. I can hear you.
Hey. Yeah, that's excellent. So, I wanted to ask you a question. When you started planning out your follow-up sequence, was the email follow-up bit, or was that in a?
Hello? I lost Sid. Okay. Sid, you're back. You were asking me about email follow-up? Are you still there?
Maybe I'll come back. Okay, I glitched out there for a minute. What were you using for your email, Derek?
I had everything just put into responsive bid. There's some other great options out there. It depends on the strategy and how complicated you want to get with it. There's some super in-depth automation ones that I use on a daily basis, but there's some that are just simple, so it just depends on the person. But something like Aweber is super simple, whereas something like ActiveCampaign is super in-depth and can be overwhelming. So it just depends on what you understand. Responsive bid is super easy to use on the back end. So I use it because then the employees were able to manage that in one area instead of having several tools. So it just depends on what you have going on.
Okay, and I loved seeing what you had. Thanks for showing us inside your SendGem accounts. I use SendGem, but I am like a really surface level user. I just send out a nice little thank you series, and that's it. But you had things segmented into, the values of people's homes and property management and past customers, all these things, and that's magical. Where you go ahead and utilize that. So. And you sent it to me earlier, and I'll be happy to share at the end of the webinar. Derek sent me a PDF version of a not a flow chart, but a mind map of his sequences and how he had his emails and his SendGems going out, which I think is amazing. Thank you, Derek. I'll send that to everybody.
And you can share that with your audience, of course. I basically. The other thing that's really powerful about SendGem that I use it for my family. So for Christmas, I selected my family and then sent them all brownies and stuff. And then because I'm so busy and just sitting in this one room most of the time, so I did gift cards. And then I was done with Christmas shopping. So that worked for me. Also, I use it for networking. So I'm in the world of the webs, and so I have friends all over the place. I send them all things, just telling them how much they motivate me and inspire me, and I follow them. At some point, there may be opportunities for me to work with them, but I just I network that way too, and it has really good results. And people make they note that, and they're like, oh, this is really cool. So I've got those things. Now, let me ask you a question. How cool would it be if I could just give you my entire website for free? Would anybody want that?
Your whole website?
Would you guys just like the entire website and you guys could just use it and edit it yourself? I'll give you the link right now. So, yeah, please do. I think there's some other questions before I do. I just want to go through here. Well, those are some others. How would you pre-price properties on the postcards? I would price them low enough not to be a big switch, but not so high that they don't call. The goal is to get them on a basic level package and upsell them to the other two. The difference between a website and a landing page is a website typically, it's kind of going out of style. First off, is a website's like a 5-page website. It's got this website here. It's got services, showroom reviews, links to this, links to that. Those are all places where people can get distracted and leave. A landing page is like the registration for this very webinar. There was one button, and that's to sign up and watch us talk about the subject matter. So, in order for you to have a successful landing page, you need to have the elements we talked about, but be very cautious of the messaging and have a clear call to action on the site. And generally, those things are above the fold. But there's usually very limited links to leave. You only can do forward progression. Therefore, if you bring in 100% of your traffic through every landing page that you hit thereafter, you have a drop off on conversion rates. And so the idea is to create a funnel to where they are spending money, upgrading. Maybe they didn't want that. The next page is for them to maybe a downsell, and then they check out. And so with our setup, we actually did our upsell funnel and downsell funnel in person on the job site using Josh Latimer's recommended 3-touch system. And so I didn't have an actual funnel squeaky clean because it's overkill and it's not necessary because you can do it in person. But with online things that I do now, the landing page is powerful because you can have upsells and downsells built into a series to generate the most profit. Hopefully I answered those questions.
Yeah, Derek, that's great.
Okay, some people want the website. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, so here is, you get the website for free. You guys are welcome to have that.
And then
you can edit it and everything using a very easy to use tool. And if you're not happy with it, completely delete it and redo it. But the tool is super easy to use, and that's what I use every day to build pages after pages. I launch 4 funnels a month, and complete front to back funnels. And the tool that you use to edit this site is the tool that I use. And also, I think it's not perfect either. I just built that last night, that entire website on that tool so you guys could use it. So it's not perfect. Kyle, you asked about YouTube videos once a week so you can generate more sales with your window cleaning customers. Yeah, you could. YouTube video. These window cleaner people in the same city, and they're all doing the same thing. And you've got Mr. Customer who's typed in, I want window cleaning, and now everybody is competing. The way they're going to make more money is to be the person that's there before they need the window cleaning. So if you are getting your message in front of them before they even decide they want it, then you're the person they're going to use. So the more you can do, the better. Thanks, Les. Right. And thanks, everybody. Thanks for letting me be on here and everything. If there's no questions, I guess I'll mute myself and shut up. And then move it to Josh. So you guys could hear me? You could. I need to redo the whole presentation.
Hey, Derek, on my end, it's gone super choppy and we've got you frozen. So here's what I want to do. I want everybody's got to give a big thank you to Derek. And while we're making transition to our next and our final presenter, everybody just take a second and put something in the chat box, like one takeaway that you got from either Brian or Chris or Derek, something actionable that you can use. I really appreciate these gentlemen being on with us today. So thank you very much. Hey, we're gonna transition and get Josh on here in just a second. So most of you, or many of you, actually already know Josh Latimer, and he's the co-founder of SynGem. He's the co-founder of Automate Grow Sell Bootcamp, and Derek, who just presented for us, is the man behind the curtains, taking care of all the programming stuff. But hold on just a second. I got to find my notes. So Josh Latimer, he was the keynote speaker at the recent huge convention for the WCRA. And yeah, I met with him the night before hey, there he is, Josh. I met with Josh the evening before the convention started. We had a little mastermind with 6 or 7 of us sitting at a table, and I asked a question. I said, to everybody that's there, I was like, hey, if you had to move into a new area and start brand new from scratch, what would you do to dominate the area? And Josh spoke up first, and I was expecting the guys in the room, Josh included, to say something like, well, here's what I would do. I'd start promoting videos, or I would use this tool, or I would drop an EDDM or put out 1 million flyers. But instead, Josh said, what's the market like? How do the buyers like to buy? And he started asking insightful, perceptive questions to refine my question. And that's when I knew, I was like, Josh knows his stuff. He knows what he's talking about. And so anyway, he's already built and sold a significant business. And He started the Growth Vault so he could help other window cleaners, power washers, service people grow and automate their business. He's got a boot camp that's incredibly valuable. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. But automating a business is like one of the key factors to growing the business. And so, Josh, thank you so much for being on. I'm going to turn it over completely to you. Will you say something so we know we got audio with you?
Check, check, check. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're golden.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks everybody for hanging in there who's watching this live. Super appreciate it. I have some good little nuggets here, so I'm going to dive right into it so we can get to the good stuff. So here's a question. How do you automate your business? It's a relatively broad question. Let's go through my slideshow that I presented. I know there's an audio delay when I switch, so I'll sit silently for about 5 seconds. Hold on. Okay. I'm guessing yes. All right. Let's keep rolling here. All right, so I'm going to go full screen, make this all fancy pants. So how do you automate your business? There's a picture of me. So I founded a cleaning business in Michigan, totally automated it. The last 2 years I had it, I worked about 4 or 5 hours a week on that business. That's how I, put together a book and some other things, started a software company, gave me a lot of flexibility. I also have 4 kids now, so having an automated business that serves you well is massively epic. It's awesome. It's amazing. If your business isn't automated and it always requires you, what happens if you get hurt, right? What happens if you have 2 or 3 really key clients and you lose those clients and it's really small? The way to hedge against that risk is to build out a team, to have thousands and thousands of clients, and to produce a machine. That's right, your business should be a machine that can run without you touching it all the time. So I sold that business, moved to Costa Rica. I'm actually back in Michigan now. I was in Costa Rica for about 14 months. We really missed family. We found a dream house and we bought it. So I'm back here. Did just under 200K the month that we sold it. So where do you start when you want to automate your business? That's the question. Where do you start? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to make a list of every single thing you do, literally. Literally everything. Okay? I'm talking if you answer the phone, that's a thing. If you buy brownies or muffins to go in the little coffee area where your crew comes in, like if you're the guy buying that, that's a thing. I need that on the list. If you buy all the supplies and the equipment, if you call the angry customers back, if you're the guy that takes a screen that was bent and broken to the repair place to get it repaired and you're the guy that delivers it back, that's a thing. And even things that happen once a year, twice a year. If you get your taxes done and you do it yourself, that's a thing. You want to spend significant time on this. It's relatively boring, but it's super, super, super important. We need to understand what it is that you do. What are you investing your time in and on, okay? Because every year we all have the same amount of time, right? Elon Musk is a world-changing, tycoon changing industries, and he has the same amount of time as the guy who can't get his crap together and lives in his mom's basement and he's 38 years old, right? What's the disconnect? Well, it has to do with how you invest your time. So step one is let's figure out where you've been investing your time. I work with hundreds and hundreds of companies, and over this last year, because of my podcast and some of the things I'm doing, not just with the boot camp, but the Growth Vault and everything, I noticed some concerning trends. And sometimes people have a relatively small company, but they invest a huge portion of their time on all the wrong things, okay? The next thing you want to do is list your current biggest pain point. What is that one nagging thing that if you're honest with yourself, you need to just make it go away? You need to deal with it. We need to check that off the list. You've been putting it off. You've been putting it off. It's what is that one thing? There's probably something that comes to mind right when I say that. There's something you've been neglecting. Maybe you're overwhelmed by it. Maybe you don't know where to start. Let's focus on getting that on our list as well and then making that go away, right? And don't forget the little tiny things like I mentioned. On this list of all the stuff you do, if you buy toilet paper for the office, at your office, that's a thing, right? If you pay the personal property tax to your local municipality and it's you that does it and you get the check, but if you do the bank deposits, that's a thing. All those things. There should be tons of stuff, right? And before we get into how to automate, I want to talk to you about from my perspective. I made this up on my own, from my own, perspective. The 5 stages of small service business growth, right? So when you start out, and when I started out, I was the guy primarily on the ladder. I did the work. I was a technician. Now, keep in mind, with all of these stages, except for the last one, you're going to have to do lots of stuff. You're going to wear lots of hats. You're going to be doing this, and then you're going to do that, and then you're going to do a little this and a little that. But if you're primarily the guy or the gal in the field performing the end deliverable, the service, the cleaning, the mowing, the whatever, then you're in stage one. If most of your time, meaning more than 50% of your working hours, is spent doing stuff in the office, whether it's doing payroll or answering the phone or scheduling appointments or calling back customers for bids or whatever, if that's a big lion's share chunk of your time, then you'll be in stage two. If you're primarily the sales guy, and this means that you have techs in the field, you have a person in the mothership. I call the office the mothership because having a tight office system is critical in every single area and aspect of your business. That's where all the info and the data passes through, is that mothership. So once you have someone kind of in that role, even though you're still helping them, even though you still hop in the field because you got to put out a fire or you have a really important job, if you're spending most of your time selling, networking, building relationships, doing huge bids, going deep, right, then you're in stage three. And then stage four is when you're primarily the general manager. So you're going to have, some sort of a service manager, like a guy in charge of kind of all the techs. You're going to have, your office manager. Maybe there's more than one person in the office, or we had a person called the operations liaison because I couldn't think of a different job title. And they just did stuff. They went to Sam's Club. They did all kinds of weird miscellaneous office-y things. And then you have a sales manager who's replicating what you already did to be successful when you were at stage three. If that's in place and you're overseeing, you're leading those people, then you're at stage four. Stage five is when you're the business owner. Brian Hegerty, who presented first and did outstanding, by the way, Brian, super sharp, love listening to you. He did a podcast with me, and he talked about his goal for his company is he looks at his company like a football team, right? And a lot of little businesses are their quarterback. They want the ball. They don't want to delegate. They don't want to hire. Nobody can do it as good as me. That's one guy. He wants to be the quarterback. Well, maybe you can be the coach, right? And you could be the coach. And I always say be the coach, not the quarterback. But Brian takes it a step further, which is really brilliant. I'm going to have to steal this, Brian. He doesn't even want to be the coach. And really, a true step five means that you are the guy in the press box, the glass box. You're the owner of the team. The coach works for you. That would be the general manager, right? And all the players work for you. So I think that's important. Now what we want to do is we want to take all those things that we wrote down on a list. Am I going too fast, by the way? I'm really rolling here. We want to take all the things that are on the list, and we want to itemize them based on how many dollars per hour they're worth. How many dollars per hour they're worth, okay? If you're scrubbing your own toilet in the office, that's a low dollar per hour task, okay? Now listen, I'm not above scrubbing a toilet. I'm not above cleaning a gutter at all, not at all. I have no problem doing any of those things, but when you're trying to grow your business, it's a mismanagement. It's irresponsible of you as the CEO, the leader, to invest your precious hours doing things that are too low level. And in the beginning, it's normal that it's going to be not perfect, okay? But for example, if you have someone that can answer the phone for you for $15 an hour, like I have on this slide, then we need to identify that. If someone washes your towels or does, cleans out the trucks at the end of the day, you could hire that out for $9 or $10 an hour. Let's put the dollar per amount on that list of all the stuff that you do, all the stuff. And then we're going to put the lowest dollar per amount stuff at the top of the list down to the most expensive, so we can just get organized with our list. Is this making sense, guys? Here, I'm going to back out for one quick second and make sure. Okay, we good? All right, I got some good feedback here. I'm going to keep rolling. Okay, after we have the list, we are going to, I want to remind you, it's normal for it to be messy. It's normal for you to feel overwhelmed when you first start doing this. Push through it anyway. If you need some inspiration, go in the Growth Vault. It's a free Facebook group. Get some inspiration from your friends. And it's also, here's a key point, it's normal that it would require more time from you in the beginning. For example, I'm in stage 2, let's say, and I'm answering the phone, and I'm doing payroll, and I'm going in the field sometimes, and I do all the bids, right? So I'm working a lot. I'm in the fire. but I want to create an automated way that I do my job on specifically the phone so that I can bring in another person and replicate it. Okay, that's the goal. So when you want to take on something like that, and this goes for every area of your business, when you want to do it in the beginning, it takes more time, right? Brian talked in his presentation about the massive growth he's had, and his interview process is just unbelievable, so much better than mine ever was. But what he did that I think is interesting is he did a video training series, right? That took Brian a ton of time to build, to make, right? To put that into place. So in the beginning, he could have just had a crappy hiring process and just, trained someone by hand like he had always done and put him in the field and got the same result that he's always gotten. But instead, he decided to automate that part of his business. So the cost for automating something is a temporary loss of time. Like you have to invest even more hours for a minute to frame out what you're doing or what needs to be done or to build that training program so that you can replicate it. Hopefully that makes sense. That makes sense. So don't be discouraged when you're starting to go through this process and, it's hard and you're overworked. That's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, you're going to be overworked for a minute, for a season, right? I call it a season. I don't mean your whole season. I just mean for a time. It's not forever. And then don't overcomplicate things. Another mistake I see commonly is a really, really tiny business will have like a 32-point marketing plan with 15 different things. We don't need that yet. We don't need that. In fact, if you over-systemize a small company, you're wasting your time. There's only a few things you even need to automate in the beginning, and we could do the Q&A at the end, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so delegation and accountability. So when you want to take something off your plate, off that list I had you write out in the beginning, which you can work on later. I'm sure you can't make a comprehensive list while I'm talking 100 miles an hour. On that list, we're going to pick something. And you're not going to do it anymore, right? We're going to take it off your plate, and we're going to put it on someone's plate, okay? Here's a couple tips for that to be smooth, okay? Number one, it has to be very clearly organized as far as how you do what the thing is that needs to be done. But another big one that maybe you hadn't thought about is get the staff, get the person that is being delegated to, get them involved in the process. Bring them in. I call it giving them a seat at the table. So you want them to take ownership of it, even if it's something really silly like, ordering toilet paper for the office, which is one of the examples I always use because we had, 30 employees coming in and out of the office and there'd be no toilet paper. It's such a dumb thing, but it's important. And even something that granular, I'm not going to do it. I don't need to do it. So we needed to identify it, build a simple system. Where do we buy it? How much do we spend? How much do we buy at a time? What day do we check the supply closet to see if we need a reorder? And then who's responsible for owning that task, right? Who do I delegate it to? So I wouldn't build the whole system myself. I'd sit down with, in this case, the operations liaison. This is one of their weird jobs, I think is who did it, or the office manager. And we'd figure out, okay, let's type out 3 sentences of how this can be handled so that this never, ever happens again. That's bringing them into the process. And then have them set their own expectations. Like, what do you think should happen if we do run out of toilet paper again? And what do you think should happen if for the whole year we never run out of toilet paper? Maybe there's an incentive on it, right? Just some ideas. If there's a slide that is the most important about everything I'm talking about today, it's probably this silly slide right here. Be a broken record. Be a broken record. People don't stick with what they say they're going to do for long enough for it to stick. And it's funny because I talk all passionate about how to do all this automation. My current businesses are messy. It's messed up. Like my software company, it's really small still. It's starting to kind of scale, then it's not, and our model's weird. The pricing's weird. I am in the middle of all this all over again right now. Okay, so don't be discouraged if it's hard. Of course it's hard, right? But you want to be a broken record on the things that you do put into place, right? You want to, you don't tell your wife you love her the day you get married and then never mention it again. And you don't tell the toilet paper guy, hey, remember Wednesday's a toilet paper. You don't say that once and then get mad at that person for not doing it, 90 days later because it just kind of falls off. And what happens is you tell everybody, hey, we're going to ask for referrals on every job. We're going to target the 5 neighbors of all of our current customers after we do a job before we leave to go to the next job. You're going to tell them that, and then they'll do it for like a minute, and then they don't do it. Well, that's your fault. And it's your fault because you're not a broken record. This is an ongoing conversation. All of these things are relentlessly talked about, relentlessly revisited, relentlessly incentivized. It has to become part of your culture, and eventually, and some, depending on the system, it can take over a year. It can take a couple seasons sometimes, but eventually, it's just the way that we've always done it. That's it. You don't even remember when you didn't do 5 rounds every single time, forever and ever, for always and always, non-negotiable, right? Pretty cool stuff. And here's a few ways to automate things. So when we talk about automate, that's kind of like a general term, and so the word system is too, and people get confused by what it means, but it's any task, any reoccurring thing that happens in your business, which is why I made you make that list. All those things could be automated. And the start with the low-hanging fruit, start with the cheap dollar per hour ones. But here's some ways you can automate, right? Delegation. So you take what you do now, you make a framework for how you do it, and then you take another human and you make them do it. And you be a broken record. That's one thing. Another thing is software, right? So Responsibit or even SendJim, shameless plug for SendJim since I'm the owner of SendJim, any of those software tools, what they do is they're a time multiplier. It automates something that you would have to do manually. So let's say you don't have a CRM, and so you're handwriting down your customers' names and addresses, you're handwriting out a thank you card, sending it, you're handwriting out a letter 6 months later for an appointment reminder. That's all fine, but a better way would be to have a CRM where you can click a button, click, 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 and it does all that stuff, right? So that would be you automating that little part of the process. Another way is to outsource it. You don't have to have your team do everything. For example, with your taxes, right? If you're going to sit there and just muscle through your taxes for 2 weeks and stress yourself out and yell at your dog, or you're just going to hire a professional to do what professionals do, right? That's the question. That's the question we want to answer. And the fourth one is my favorite. Don't do it anymore. A lot of you guys are overcomplicated. You're doing things. There's things on that list right now that are not necessary to get your business to the next level. Okay, there's things that you're wasting time on that really aren't a problem yet. So one of the quotes I like is, if it's not a problem, it's not a problem. So if you're doing like some weird, like super detailed strategy on something and your business is only doing 100 grand a year or 200 grand a year, we might not need that yet. We need more momentum. We need some of the basic level stuff, like level 1 stuff, and you're over here wandering around with level 4, 5, and 6 stuff. That doesn't matter yet. Besides, by the time you get there, you're going to realize so much more, and you'll throw that whole system out. So ask yourself, is it actually necessary to do it in the first place? After you create a system and you automate something, you want to revisit your system. So Brian, with his hiring process, I can assure you it won't be the last time ever that he touches it, looks at it, reviews it, asks hard questions, talks to his team about it. That's what I call optimizing or iterating or refining a system. Maybe because he just put that in place this last year and it's working really well, maybe he runs a year with it. But at some point, your job as a CEO is to circle back, go through everything, tighten it up, simplify it. Don't make things complicated for the sake of being complicated. And then for each task you automate, a good general rule of thumb is to use the who, what, when, where, and why. Who is going to be responsible for this? What are we talking about? The toilet paper. The operations liaison. What? The toilet paper. When? Every Tuesday. Where do they get the stuff at Sam's Club, and why do we need it? So the 30 employees aren't super pissed when they come back to the office at the end of the day, and they are embarrassed when they go to the bathroom, there's no toilet paper, right? So, and then lastly, and I'll wrap it up here, is how do you build a system? Well, you create a mind map. That's how I build. In fact, let me show you. This wasn't part of my thing, but this slideshow was this mind map right here. Can you guys see this? Can you see this mind map? So look, this is how I do it. It's called a brain dump. I don't worry about having it perfect. I just drop all the stuff on the subject onto a mind map. Here's a mind map I'm working on for another product that's going to go in the boot camp this year. It's called the Ultimate Employee Toolkit, right? This is a massive thing to tackle. And I'm going to build all the documents, all the things, all the videos, training, everything. But this is the beginning. This is step 1, right? Is a mind map. Okay. Next thing you want to do is to convert and formalize, or I'm sorry, convert to plain text. I misspoke. So convert to plain text. So a lot of mind map softwares will let you like export your weird webby mind map, and it will just make it like a bullet pointed with subpoint list of text. Just get it into Word or get it into Apple Pages, whatever. That's step 2. Step 3 is to polish and formalize. That just means you take it, you make sure it's spelled right, you add more body to it, you beef it up, you further explain the point. And then the 4th one is one no one does. This is a hard one. Is you got to deploy and execute on it. That's not easy, right? That means you got to be a broken record. That's the hard part, guys. You got to teach it to your team. You got to execute. And if you've never done systems before, if you've never got serious before, you might get some friction from your employees. You might get some pushback, and you have a choice, right? It's very binary. When you say we're going to do 5 rounds and your guy's like, well, wait a second, we never did that before, blah, blah, blah. You have a very binary go this way or go that way decision. You're either going to deploy and execute that, no questions asked, it's non-negotiable, period, and you're going to stand behind it and move forward, possibly have some temporary frustration, pains, and speed bumps, but you know it's worth it in the long run. You can go that route, or you can back off, or you can modify it for the squeaky wheel who's complaining, right? I don't recommend that option. But many people do that and go through that. And I went through that. That's what happened to me. And number 5 is to iterate and optimize, like I mentioned about Brian. Circle back. We did it in the winter. We'd circle back and go through the systems and say, do we even need to do this? Like, why is this a policy? Or is this form we make our employees fill out? Like, why is there so many questions? How can we take out questions? How do we make things simpler? How do we make it more streamlined? And then sometimes there's things we never thought of, and we have to create a new system. So that's pretty much it. You can connect with me at automategrowsell.com. I'm online. Most of you probably see me online. That's it. I'll take some questions now.
Josh, thank you so much. Listen, if you've got questions, go ahead and type them in the chat box. In what?
Can you guys hear me? Did I do the whole presentation?
Yeah, it was great. Can you hear me?
Yep, I just didn't hear you come back in, so I thought maybe I was just talking to myself for the last 10 minutes.
No, it was good. As a matter of fact, it was the least glitchy of all of ours so far, so thank you. So go ahead and everybody go ahead and type in your questions so Josh can answer those. But Josh, I got to tell you, thank you so much, not just for being on here, but you've got a really keen way of simplifying things. And just when you put down the little steps on when you're doing your systematizing process to do a podcast first, then do it in plain text, and then refine it, that is so helpful. We struggled, me and my production manager struggled for about 2 months just writing everything out in a linear fashion, and it's a disaster. And then we got a mind map and just started dumping everything in where where we can move it around, organize it, and play with it later, and to put it in a location where we had it written down. It wouldn't go get lost, but we didn't have to deal with it until it was time to deal with it in the right order. So that's
look, it's totally overwhelming to do any of this stuff when you're just starting. It takes a minute. That's why you don't have to worry about doing everything at once. You just want to do the really, really important scratchy parts. You know what your biggest itch is. Let's get that done.
Yeah.
And then there'll be another one, and let's get that done. And I think I'm just speaking for my own self. Sid, I get totally overwhelmed sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, and you get paralyzed. I think the way to get out of that is to just pick one thing and have a basic framework. My way of doing it isn't the only way. It doesn't matter how. It matters more that you do it. You find something that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a couple of questions going in. Before we start answering those questions, I just want to tell everybody, Josh and Derreck both, you guys are already overwhelmed with things to do. I know you're launching things this week. You're relaunching SynGym. You've got, is the boot camp relaunching on Thursday? Or there's a big webinar for it on Thursday, right?
Yeah, the boot camp is not my primary business, but it's something that's very important to me. I spent over 6 months in Costa Rica making it. It was a ton of work, and I launched it last year in February. We had around 50 people come in kind of right in February, and then throughout the year we got up to over 100, like 115 people bought this boot camp. And it's not super inexpensive. It's $1,250 right now. But what we've done is we've gotten some feedback because it's not perfect. Like, we've had massive results with people, but some people haven't engaged as much as I wish they would. Other people have doubled and tripled their business. So I'm trying to figure out how to make it better, how to get it more of a family, how to add more value, and make the documents more editable, put it into a different platform that tracks your progress. And there's a forum on there, and you can private message, and you can quickly schedule your calls with me directly and all that. So what we've done is Derreck, the mastermind evil genius guy with the horse head, he's been moving it over to the new platform, and it's a lot better. And yeah, the price is going to be $2,000 after we do our webinar this week, but it'll be a lot cheaper. We're going to do a promotion, try to get more people in there. But it's an incredible thing, because all of us to succeed, we need education, we need community, and we need accountability. That's what we need. That's what I need. And that's what the boot camp is. If you have a service company, it's high-level education, it's community, and it can help with accountability if you want it to. So that's all I've got to say about that.
Yeah, so you don't feel like you're tooting your own horn. I'm going to push just a little bit, and that is, with the boot camp, I considered it because I looked at it, but I thought, well, I've been in business for 20 plus years. Maybe it's not for me. Maybe it's more for beginning stages. And I talked to Brian, and he just said, he was like, oh, forget about it. You got to do the boot camp. I'm in it. And Brian's business is easily double mine. His experience is far more vast. And when I went, he's in it and he's getting that much value, like he said, it's a no-brainer, then I jumped on board. And it's already paid for itself many times over. It's really good. So,
well, thank you.
If you would, can you type in, like, do you have a link you can share to?
Well, yeah. What I'll do is I'll send a link to the webinar, which is where you can just see a tour of it. And Brian is way too nice to me. You're way too nice to me. I appreciate it very much. The bottom line for me, look, Sid, a few weeks ago, I paid $2,000 for a course that has to do with some other things.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it, because we overthink everything. If you can find one thing, a nugget, a system, a relationship that makes you another $100,000 over the next couple of years, which you probably will, it's just, that's what it does. I mean, we get so paralyzed in fear. We're not in motion. We're not learning. We're not engaging. We got to get moving our bodies. We have to start being doers. That's what drives me crazy a little bit about people that overly analyze it. It's not a good fit for everybody, but if it is for you, you know it is. And just do it, get in here. You got people like Brian in there. That guy can answer one question for you, and it's like ridiculously valuable information.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, there was an interview you did and something you told Mike Dahlke that it was just one little tiny tip. And I took that, and it paid for my boot camp. And I'll share it at the very end of all the Q&A. I'll tell everybody what that one learning was. It's been worth at least $4,000 to me. And it was literally, it took 30 seconds to learn. It was huge. So
it's the little things are the big ones, yeah.
Can you see the questions on the chat box, Josh?
Sure. So let me scroll back a little bit. What's the first thing you would automate or put a system in for? Easy question. Easy. Can anybody guess? Sales. Guess what doesn't matter anymore if you don't have sales? Everything. You have to create momentum. And the way to create momentum is by getting sales. Now, that doesn't mean you need like a 32-tab spreadsheet with like complex metrics on it to start. You don't need that. You just need to move your feet, move your hands, move your mouth. I call it BOG, boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. That's a great way. That's how I started my whole company. I went and knocked on doors. I left my house when it was dark. I came home when it was dark. That's how I did it. I'm not above it. You're not above it. So sales system, if you have some resources, some money, focus on sales systems until you have such a tidal wave coming where you start to feel that pressure. When you're in that pressure, you feel you're going to be overwhelmed. That's when you make hires, right? I think we hire people thinking they'll create the momentum, but it doesn't work very well. Another question is, I do about $250,000 with an employee and a subcontractor. The thing that scares me is if I decide to grow to $1 million company, my margin will drop and I'll be making the same as I am now, but much greater headaches. Hope that makes sense. You're not going to have much greater headaches. The 250 to 450 range is the biggest headache of headaches on the planet, typically, for businesses. You're in what I call the middle. The middle. People get stuck in the middle for 20 years. People get stuck there forever. And it's a terrible place to be because you're not as efficient as you can be. It's like you have too many employees for the amount of revenue you produce, but you're not maximizing what you could. I don't want to take all day on that, but Kyle, I would suggest doing it for a couple reasons. Number one, it's not going to be a bigger headache. Not if you build it right and you have good executive leaders and other key people in there. And your margin go down when you scale? Yeah, it does. But who cares? I mean, in my opinion, because now you have a sellable entity, you have an automated business you're not a slave to, you can leave and go away for a month and come back and it won't burst into flames. Those benefits far outweigh any of the potential negatives, in my opinion. But you want to bust through the middle as fast as you can. Here's another one. When is a good time for the boot camp? When I have a hard time getting an employee. Brenda, okay, so it sounds like maybe you don't have an employee yet. A good time for the boot camp is any time, because we do have people in the boot camp. A guy last week has $1 million business in Texas, bought the boot camp. But we also have a whole bunch of people that I had one guy buy the boot camp. He only did $6,000 so far because he's just starting. So it depends. It's flexible enough. The community is flexible enough. And in the new boot camp, we're actually breaking people into groups based on the size of their company. That way you don't have, this guy with a $500,000 business asking a question to someone who just started. We can kind of do better with our community, I think. And why did my comments quit showing in the chat box? No idea, Bill. I didn't do it. And
we don't
another
know
question.
either. We're trying to figure it out.
I'm in stage 2 and want to move to stage 3, but can't figure out how to afford to hire someone for office work. Okay, this probably, Anthony, has something to do with the list of stuff that I had you make. Okay, there's something you're doing. If you're in stage 2 and you're in the office and you want to go get out of there, but you can't hire the office, right? You're investing some of your time, or you're not working enough hours, which I doubt it, because all you guys are hardcore and you're going to work and do what it takes. There's something in there that we need to get off your plate to create more sales. All of this is rooted in sales and momentum. So the other thing I would encourage you with is that you're never going to feel perfectly financially perfect when you make a big time hire like that, like a transitional hire, a key hire for you to move to another stage. There's always going to be a little trepidation and fear. It's going to be uncomfortable. But what you're doing, if you're ready for this, is you're going to create space for yourself to go make the more sales to pay for the person, right? So if you have nothing in place and sales wise, you have no relationships, you're not good at networking, it's really just anemic, don't make the hire. Figure out the sales first. But if you have the sales but you can't go get more because you're overwhelmed, if that's the case, which it sounds like it is, you need to make the hire. Be stressed out for 2 weeks while you're onboarding and ramping this person up, and then take the time that you save. You're going to get this little bucket of time, and you're going to invest all of it into revenue producing activities. Hopefully that makes sense. Anything else? Everyone talks about growth. What do you say to someone who doesn't want to grow right now or grow fast? I call that an artisan business. You don't have to grow fast. My boot camp doesn't say that you have to grow fast, and this webinar is not about having to grow fast. I think the key is building a business that serves you well. And so if you want to be artisan, what I coach people to do is to start focusing on margin and profitability. Start becoming an exclusive service provider. There's a guy in the UK that details cars, and I think he charges $1,000 to detail cars. You want to be that guy. If you want to keep it small and be artisan, I think that's amazing. It's still way better than getting a job somewhere, right? Being self-employed isn't the same as being a business owner, but being self-employed is way better than just working for the man. So I would just want to maximize profit. I know there's a lot of window cleaners out there that make $100K working by themselves 8 or 9 months out of the year. It is a thing. It can be done. It's a whole conversation on how to do that. If you break up the community in the boot camp, does that make it harder to get knowledge from those? No, because we have a private Facebook group, a mastermind group, but we're going to break up into groups so we can do goal setting and have some deep relationships between people that are at the same level. That's all. And yeah, Sid, what do you think?
I think that's excellent. And I want to add to what you said about an artisan business, about not growing. A lot of people put emphasis on growth, but that's not always the answer. A great question is, what size do I want my business to be? It's not, bigger isn't always better. Smaller may be better, but when you find the right size, then do everything you can to optimize that size of business so that it's the most profitable, the least headache, because you can implement all these systems and everything that you've been talking about if it's a 1 or 2 man operation. You still systematize things.
And there is more to this. Obviously, I do a quick presentation. It sounds all motivating, but you don't even want to grow a business if the model's broken, if it's not profitable, if your prices are too low, because everything will just explode. When you're really little, you're supposed to have a huge margin, and that margin is there so you can pay for all those other humans that you're going to recruit to work alongside of you later. But some of these guys working alone, maybe they do $30, $40 an hour by themselves, and they think that that's a lot because they worked for $10 an hour before. It's not. So you're going to hit a ceiling and a plateau, and you're not going to have the room to actually blow your business up. So there's other things to consider if you want to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, are there any other questions coming in? Here's one.
How do I overcome? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
How do you overcome the fear of failure if you want to grow?
That's a big question. I think, you've seen the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the third part where he's going in to get he's looking for the golden chalice, the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
And there's this huge chasm that he's got to cross. There's a doorway here, and like 20 feet away, there's another doorway, and 1,000-foot drop. And he's looking at it, and he says something about leap of faith. It's like a faithful man steps out, or he quotes a scripture. But when he takes the step, then you can, his foot hits something solid, and you can see what's there. So a lot of times, fear is more imagined than anything else. You want to plan as much as you can and be diligent or be prudent, but most of that is just fear, and you just have to do the thing to go.
Well, I would also tell Dennis, make a list of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And ask yourself a couple questions. Number one, are you the smartest, most successful person you know? And if you are, that's a problem. Not that you are, but if you are, that's a problem. And if you're not, how much time are you actually spending around people that have already done this stuff? Because I can tell you from my firsthand experience, I couldn't imagine the day my business would do $10,000 a month. That was an impossibly large number at the time. And once you have lived it, it's nothing more than math, okay? And so that fear, after you've accomplished something, goes away. And before it, it's real, right? But the more time you spend around people that's normal for them, right? Like I have friends now that have online businesses that do $20 million a year, and they're just regular people. They're not, they're smart. Usually it's more their mindset and how focused their productivity is, but they're just regular people, okay? But they just think of things different. When they launch a product, they don't even mess with it if it can't do $10 million. So they're not genies, they're not magical. So overcoming fear has to do with, getting around highly successful people, getting the advice and coaching and learning and education and community you need, and using logic as often as possible. Because there are really dumb people that have bigger businesses than you, Dennis. You're not really dumb, so you can do it too. It's very binary, logical. You can do it. It's just a matter of what do we do in the what order and how long will it take. And yes, there'll be some dips in the road, but of course you'll make it if you put the action behind it.
Very cool. Chris, you want to poke that poll out? We're going to put up a quick poll. You deleted it? Okay. Anyway, we're looping back around. So listen, there's been a lot of information shared today and a lot of super valuable things, but I understand for everybody, it's like skipping a stone across the surface of a pond. You could dive a mile deep on every single topic that we've touched today. So here's what I want to ask. We're going to put up a poll in a minute that asks you what you want to learn more about or go deeper, so we can dig deeper in a future time. But for everybody online, if you haven't done it, I want to encourage you to do a couple things. If it's a fit for you, check out SendJim and see if that's a fit for you. We had a very specific 3-part automated follow-up that we did in office forever for all of our customers. And it was very effective. It made us a lot of money and helped to grow the business. And when I found SendJim, well, I just transferred it. So I do the same thing with SendJim. And instead of us handwriting the cards and doing that, we're in a good system. Now we have a click a button and it goes automatically. And that is huge for us. So it didn't save us any money, but it saved us time and headache. It's like instant. So good system. Check out SendJim. It was in the comments earlier, but it's sendjim.io. Check it out. If it makes sense to you, I'd encourage you to get it. I use it. Some of the tools that were referenced, Responsibid has been a huge time saver for my business. It saves me about 20 hours a month from going out and giving bids. And that's huge. Okay. And the other thing is take a look at the Automate Grow Sell boot camp and consider if it's right for you. Because I will guarantee that you will learn something in that boot camp that will more than pay for the boot camp, and it'll move you further down the road in your business. And this whole webinar is not to sell anything. I just know that our presenters brought up things that are great, that have been valuable tools for a lot of the people in here. So I encourage you to check it out, see if it's right for you, and do it. We're going to put up a poll right now for some further learning. And Chris is going to push the button and stick it out there. And you guys, I encourage you to take that poll. And I really don't have anything else other than just great gratitude for Josh, Chris, Brian, Derreck. Thanks for taking your time to join us and lay down some value and not hold anything back. And I hope everybody's gotten a lot out of this. One thing I do want to ask you to do, if you would go to Facebook to my squeegeology page and just comment on there. I had to close all my tabs earlier because my computer was freaking out. But hold on, I'm going to ask a question on my squeegeology page and then ask you guys to comment on it. If it will ever load, I will do this.
And there'll be a replay, right, Sid? You're going to put it on YouTube?
There is going to be a replay. It's going to be up for 72 hours for sure, and everybody that's registered will get an automatic
cool
link sent to you.
Well, thanks for putting it together. Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks everybody for being on, and here we go. I'm not getting anywhere with my squeegeology page. I really appreciate you guys. I'm going to go ahead and sign off and call it a day. If you got any questions, you can message me or email me, and let's stay connected, okay? Josh, thanks.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Be productive. 2017's here. Go crush it. Punch it.
That's it. All right. See you later.
Bye.
Here we go. Hey, I haven't pressed the end button yet. If you're still on there, take a look in the comments. There's something from Chris Martinez. I had asked him earlier if he has a link. Chris has got a brilliant goal setting and accountability series going on right now, and it would be worth your while to check it out. I don't know if it costs anything, but it's all about setting your goals and staying on track and helping each other stay on track. And the link is up right now, the Copycat Entrepreneur. Is that right, Chris? You still on there? It's just me and Chris.
Sid, totally free.
All right. You still on there? It's just me and Chris.
Yeah, buddy.
All right.
Had fun, Sid. Thank you so much, man.
Cool. Thanks very much for being on here, Chris. I'll talk to you soon. Cool. Thanks very much for being on here, Chris.